Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bass Thumbs Fishing Podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. Your host here, Shane Lamont. Tonight, got a really fun episode with a guy that not only makes incredible jigs, but also fishes these lakes out here in California. Pretty much like no one that I know. He's a hammer on the kayak and off the kayak because he also fishes in the bass boat world as well. So basically, no real updates other than just like we're going to be rolling out the ABA kayak series tonight. Tonight is December 9th. It's Thursday night for those of you that are listening. And we're going to be rolling out the ABA kayak series out here in California. I'm going to be doing a live tonight. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is @BassThumbsFishing. You guys can stay up to date with all the crazy things that I'm doing next year. I'm really excited about next year. Going to be fishing the ABA series. Going to try to go out nationally and fish some of the big bass events, and pretty much going to try to give 2022 with everything I got for the most, for as much as I can. And I'm a family man as well, so trying to balance that out. But should be a pretty good year. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and bring in our guests for tonight. Welcome to the show, Tas.
Hey, what's up, Shane? Thanks for inviting me.
Heck yeah, man. So
I know you've been trying to get me on the show for for a while now, and finally have the time.
Well, you're a busy man. You all those jigs behind you, and I kind of want to start this episode with just kind of going over your business, and we'll kind of start with that, and maybe talk a little bit about who you are as an individual and as an angler. But let's go ahead and talk about Tas Moua jigs. So you tie all hand tied jigs. Let's just start with that. How'd you get started with that? What's your business and what else do you make? And go ahead and just roll it out, man.
Yeah, I pretty much started, I think it was like 2017, 18. I've been kind of tying it for myself for a while, and kind of got the opportunity to just go pretty much, part-time, full-time, just doing jigs. It kind of just allows me to fish these tournaments. And one jig that's very popular here is a finesse jig. And, I fish all over, and I've never seen guys throw finesse jigs like the guys here in Fresno. And so that's something I wanted to introduce to everybody. And, of course, your traditional football jigs. And, it's just been a pretty successful run just doing jigs.
Because prior to that, you did have a full-time job, but after talking to you and get to know you a little bit, you're like, man, I can't really take that much time off and fish as much as I need to fish. So you kind of really took that like leap of faith almost and said, hey, I'm going to start my own business and grind it out myself so I can fish a little bit more. And it's been really successful for you, which is really awesome. So you have finesse jigs, you have football jigs. Is there any other style of head that you do?
I do archy head sometimes. Mainly I'll offer like in the spring, summertime. I do spinner baits, buzz baits. I retie chatter baits and stuff like that for whoever requests for retie or certain patterns.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. So for those of you that are listening, I use Tas Moua jigs. A lot of the guys out here in California are using Tas's jigs. And I think my favorite thing about your jig is, I think my absolute favorite thing is that I could call you up and say, hey, Tas, I need, this specific color and this mini and this weight. And he's really quick to respond. He's within the week pretty much, which is really nice. And I know he also carries jigs with him at tournaments and stuff. So it's just really convenient, and I really like the ability to customize my own colors. I have a couple colors where I just say, "Hey Tas, I need the go-to," and he already knows what that is. There's no guessing game. I keep my jigs pretty simple. I have a go-to, and then I have like a black and blue green pumpkin, and I pretty much keep it pretty simple. But I've caught so many fish on his jigs. Like That's all I have in my jig box now are Tas Moua jigs, and I throw a 1/2 ounce. Sometimes I go a little bit lighter, but mostly just a 1/2 ounce football jig. And what kind of hooks do you use? I know I've asked you that like 400 times, but that's kind of an important question, I guess.
They're mustad hooks. They're sharp,
Okay.
heavy
Yeah.
duty on both the football and finesse. You can't go wrong
And
with those.
is it rubber skirts, or what kind of skirt is it?
I do
I
both.
should
I
know
do
that.
rubber, living rubber, and silicone.
And silicone. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. And how much do your jigs retail for?
Right now they're 350, but I've noticed it's been really, really tough just to get material like skirts. I mean, I've noticed the price has gone up a little bit on everything. And so next year they will be up to $4 for one.
Sweet. And you ship anywhere in the US?
I ship anywhere.
Anywhere in the US. So
And it's been to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Texas, South Carolina. It's been all over.
and you don't only
Guys,
have jigs too, right? You have other baits.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, spinner baits, buzz bait, swim jigs. Of course your finesse jigs and football and 3/8 ounce and 1/2 ounce.
What's your like number one selling color?
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know. To be honest, yeah, the people kind of just want a little bit of everything, and then once they figure out what color's working for them, then they'll just hit me back up with that just one specific color.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of got into it a little bit, like into details of different crawdad colors. So I know that you study it a lot. So like, can you kind of talk a little bit about like the importance of like actually matching the hatch and like what you've seen as far as like crawdad colors go in your specific region and maybe in other regions of the country?
Yeah, everyone they think of crawdads always just your red, orange, kind of dark on top, black with red flake or something like that. But they're once you get up to these highland reservoir, they're more brownish with the hint of blue. I mean, the lakes down in San Diego, what we were talking about the other day. I mean, you showed me some picture, and they're a little bit of that green pumpkin brown with a little bit of blue, and it's always important just to match the hatch wherever you're from, and it's always good just to kind of go out to the lake, maybe walk along the shore if you're not sure what kind of crawdads in the water, and flip some rocks around, or sometimes they're out kind of roaming around, and that would give you pretty much an idea of what's in that lake, and then just go on from there.
So fishing a jig, I mean, you tie jigs, you literally live jigs. Uh, when you're fishing it, like what's your cadence? What do you feel like is like the most like consistent cadence that you use when you're fishing a jig? For listeners that are, maybe they don't have a lot of confidence in a jig, because that was one bait, honestly, that took me a little bit of time to kind of figure out a cadence that worked for me. And so what is a cadence that you feel like is something that works for you, or what would you recommend kind of for someone that's starting to throw a jig?
So it's all about location too. You want to find a
Yeah, yeah.
rock. I tell people just all the time, that's getting into jig fishing, to go to your main lake points, or find like creek channels, because in the creek channels sometimes there's rocks down there. In the points you can find rocks too, and start off by just slowly dragging it until you hit rocks. Once you hit that rock, just let it sit there for a while. Start knocking the rock every once in a while. Just give it a hard rip off the bottom, just like a crawdad trying to escape from a bass. And usually I'll get them to bite, once I hop it off the bottom and let it fall back down to the bottom.
Yeah. Do you ever like, I know it's certain times of year, water temp and all that, but do you stroke a jig at all, or do you just mostly drag and pop a little bit?
I do a little bit of everything. Pretty much just whatever the fish tells me how they want it.
Yeah. Yeah,
hmm
yeah. So now let's maybe get into trailers a little bit, because we're going to talk about jigs. I mean, it's Tas, you're the jig guy. Anyone that needs a jig. And another thing too, some of you guys may know this already that are listening, but out here in California, we had probably it was pretty much like one of the biggest events ever in California. It was last year in May at the Clear Lake event, Bass Nation event. And Alex Cox took first place, won like $15,000. And if you read the article after, he said, I was just throwing a Tas Moua jig. So jigs are money makers. They're you can fish them all year round. And Tas, like, you're probably one of the most popular guys out here is when it comes to guys fishing jigs and wanting to use your jigs. So my question is like, what is it about a jig that maybe gives you like the ultimate confidence? Like, I don't know, like jigs just get bit at any time of the year, right?
They do, and it's the thing with the jig is it's not always trying to imitate a crawdad. You can imitate like a goby, sculpin, whatever is in the body of water that you're fishing, bluegill, crappie. Just the combination and whatever you're trying to imitate is endless. And so I feel like that's why it works year round. I mean, as long as you pretty much match the hatch.
Yeah. And what about this is kind of where I was going with that. I kind of was going there and then I got sidetracked a little bit in my head. But one of the things I was going to ask you is trailer wise, like what's your go-to jig trailer?
Oh man.
We're busting out all the secrets tonight, Tad.
Yeah.
So just be ready to just drop all your dimes. So you don't have to give everything, but just like, what is your favorite jig trailer?
You can't go wrong with the Yamamoto twin toe, grub. Just green pumpkin.
No matter what time of year,
it doesn't matter what time of year. Yeah, even if you dead stick it, it still works. If you swim it, hop it, stroke it, whatever, it works.
It works, yeah.
Just something about it.
Yeah. For me, it's that Rage. I always get the specific one mixed up, but it's a Rage chunk. I think it's the little Rage craw, I guess, right?
Oh yeah,
the small one. I use the Rage chunk. That's like my confidence bait. I also sometimes throw a cowboy on there, which is similar to a double tail grub in a way, right?
Oh yeah. That's just a bigger profile.
Yeah. Sometimes I throw that on there, especially when I'm flipping it by toolies and want like a slower fall rate. I'll throw that cowboy on there, and I feel like it makes it fall a little bit slower. And I don't know, I've gotten pretty good bites on that. So now let's transition into like your rod selection, like your main setup for a jig. Like, what is Taz's go-to jig setup? Go from like your rod to your line to your reel.
Rod, I go with like the Daiwa Tatula, the Elite 7-1 medium heavy with the Daiwa. I believe it's like a Tatula SV, like a 7:3 gear ratio. And depending on the body of water I'm fishing, I go anywhere from 12-pound test all the way up to 17.
And do you do braid to fluoro or do you go straight fluoro?
No, I don't do any braid to fluoro.
Me either, dude. I'm not a braid to fluoro guy either. Unless it's on my spinning gear.
Even on spinning gear, I feel like there's just too much resistance, and it just feels weird to me.
Really?
Yeah. And you have
I use that high vis braid, and I don't know. I don't know why I've always used high vis braid on my spinning stuff. So you don't even use it on your spinning stuff, huh?
Yeah, I don't
use
fluoro at all. Mm-hmm.
You don't use braid at all?
I do for my top water, your frog top water.
Yeah, but you don't use braid at all, like braid to leader. You don't ever do that. Really?
I had a bad experience. I had a good bite, set the hook, it was a good fish, and it just snapped. After that, I was like, no way, no more.
No more. Yeah. All right. Well, what is the Instagram handle where guys could find your jigs at? What's your Instagram?
It's under TM Jigs. Facebook, it's under TM Custom Lures. And just drop a DM or message me on either one, and I'll get back and reply back to whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guys. So go ahead and check out Taz's jigs. He's got some really good stuff. You can see behind. He's always tying them, and they're good. They're good stuff. So, all right. So now going into your kayak tournaments and your success. And again, I just had Pu Yang on here, and another guy that's always on top of the leaderboard. And then there's Damien. and then there's Tas. Like it's just like a guarantee. Like you're gonna probably up there in the leaderboard almost at every event we go to. Seriously, like me and Alex, when we go up there, we're like, all right, our goal is to beat Damien and Tas and John Myers, and like there's like these names up there, and you're one of them because of your consistency, you know, and your success out there on the water. I mean, look behind you, you got some plaques behind you on the wall, you got some trophies, you got hardware to show it. Mm-hmm. So Tas, what got you into kayak fishing, and talk a little bit about, you know, how you got started a little bit.
Yeah, I was actually float tubing a lot, you know, after I sold my boat. It pretty much got me. Yeah, it got me off the bank and got me exploring offshore.
What kind of float tube did you have?
Oh, just the cheap. What is it called? Like
Cadence.
The Cadence.
Yeah. There you go. You know? I float tube for like 8 years too.
Yeah, and so my good friend Kevin, he float tubes with me too. Eventually, he got into the kayak scene, and eventually he invited me to go out there, and so I think it was back in 2018. I fished my first, you know, kayak tournament with him, and so
what was his name?
Kevin Vu.
Kevin. Okay. He got you into it, or you got him into it?
No, he got me into it.
Okay, so Kevin, we need to have a talk. So thanks for bringing this hammer into the kayak scene. Okay, so your first tournament in 2018, how'd it go?
Yeah, I think it was in 2018. I forget, but it was one of the Central Valley kayak fishing one on Lake Kauai. And so for a lot of you beginners, or if you're you want to get into it, make sure you read all the rules. And so one of the rule was you have to mark where the board meets the fence. You have to mark a line right there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Like on the hog trough, you had to put it right underneath.
Yep. And so I went, and I didn't even know, you know, I fished the whole day. I think I had like a limit too. And I came in, and, you know, we weren't using Tourney X. You just pretty much get your 5 best fish, bring it up to the tournament director. And, you know, he just kind of goes through it with somebody else and judges a fish. And, I ended up getting DQ'd for that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that kind of just sparked, you know, something, you know, just being out there, being on the water. It's completely different from being on a boat, you know?
Yeah. It's funny how we like go from like, so we start on the shore, and then we go to the float tube, and the float tube's awesome from the shore, like from going from shore to float tube. And then we go from float tube to kayak, and it's like the best ever. We get to stand, we get to go faster. And then you also do bass boats, but I don't want to get into the bass boat thing yet. So the kayak tournament. So what kind of kayak do you fish out
of? Right now I'm fishing out of a 2017 Hobie PA14.
Okay. Typical California angler. So Hobie PA14, is it the 180 or the 360?
Just the 180.
The 180. And is it motorized?
Yes.
And what kind of motor you got?
Torpedo, the 1103.
Nice. How fast does it go?
The GPS on my fish finder is a little off. It's saying I'm going 5.5, but I'm pretty sure I'm going like 6.5 on it.
Okay. So most of the day you torpedo to your spot, and then most of the day you sit and fish, or do you stand?
Yeah, I'd say about 90% of the time I just sit and fish. I'll stand up, stretch every once in a while.
Yeah. So from 2018 on, like you just went on this like mad tear. Like you've been fishing like ever since. Like you've been fishing all the major circuits up there, and it's just been something that you've done.
I think 2019 I did the Central Valley, the CVKF stuff, and then I slowly worked my way up north doing the MKA. And that year I did one of the Yakabas event, and it was just it was just different. You know, the people that fish the kayak stuff, it's completely different from the boat guys. You know, everybody knows it. The guys that fish any of the boat tournaments that do the kayak stuff, you know, it just seems like everybody in the kayak community is just really friendly. You can just go up to anybody and greet them, and they're just happy to just talk to you, you know, and hang out.
What was like one of the major events where you like won or you did really well in, that's kind of like a highlight for your career so far?
Oh man.
Because I'm looking
It
through your
wa-
Tourney X stats right now, so I got it pulled up now. So you've done 90 tournaments. Oh, that was in 2021. Wait, hold on 1 second. Total tournament. $3,789 inches. He averages 7.7 per fish. You got 7 first place finishes, 2 second place, or 3 second place, 3 third place, and 26 top 10. So, like, guys, when I say that this guy can catch him, he can definitely catch him. Like, that's some serious stuff. So for this year, let's just maybe highlight over this year a little bit.
yeah.
I'm already seeing some first places. So we got 2021. Let's just go to 2021. So let's talk a little bit about Don Pedro. You took first place at the Wild West Bass Shell Kayak Series out of 70 anglers. So you want to talk about that event a little bit? Was that a
Yeah,
2-day
I think
event?
that was a 1-day event.
A 1-day event. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So what
think
was
that's
that? What was your pattern that day? How did you catch him?
I went out during practice and I threw the traditional stuff. I found an area that had just a bunch of schooling fish, chasing bait fish all over, and I threw the drop shot, I threw the underspin, and for some reason I couldn't get bit, and I think it was right before I left. It was right before I left. I was watching the Bassmaster Classic where Chris Zaldane catches that monster on the flutter spoon. Right when I
He
was
also
leaving,
lost some too.
he did, yeah. And
Yeah.
so right when I was leaving the garage, I kind of looked back and I was like, I saw the spoon hanging there, and I just something told me to just grab it, and so I ended up taking the spoon there. And after going through all my baits, I decided to tie on the spoon, and it was like, I don't know, first couple casts with it, I stuck one and ended up just kind of rotating a couple spots, catching more, and it was just kind of like that was it. Like, um, yeah,
And you also have a YouTube channel as well, right?
I do. I just started just recently.
And did you put that one on YouTube? Or is that a
No,
different
that
video?
was way before.
That was way
Yeah.
before. Okay. Okay. So you took first place. That had to feel pretty awesome to take first place out there. It looked like it took like 86 inches, so it was kind of a tough bite for size.
It was a pretty tough bite, and I had a pretty good feeling after practice. I pretty much stayed up all night just paying attention to the wind, because wind played a big factor. And
Mm-hmm.
I just kept, peeking out of the car. We were camping. I was sleeping in the car, and I was like, all right, the wind's blowing the direction of where I'm going to be fishing at. These bait fish are going to be stacked in there. The fish are going to be feeding. And sure
So
enough, I went to this.
you're a huge believer in, like, okay, the wind is blowing on that north bank right there, so the bait fish will be pinned against that bank. Is that something that you really pay attention to a lot, or just
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
certain times of the year,
all the time.
all
Yeah.
the time?
Yeah.
Motor, and I was just assuming that that was something to kind of show them the direction the wind was blowing. I could be wrong. Have you seen that before? They put like
What
a
was
little
that?
tiny like they put like a little tiny flag on their trolling motor. Like, I saw some of the bass boat guys doing that, and I feel
Oh,
like that was like to show them like the direction the wind. Are you there, Taz?
yeah. Sorry. You're kind
Okay,
of lagging.
I'm lagging. All right, can you
Yeah.
hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. No, I was just saying, like, have you seen the bass boat guys, like, they have that little flag on their trolling motor so they can see the way the wind's blowing?
Oh, no, I've never seen that before.
Uh, Am I having problems?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Um, Hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it good now?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So basically what I was saying was is like, I guess the wind blown blank, that's something that you pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go into your next event because you kind of went on a little tear there for a second. You took second place at a Yakabass event at Clear Lake, right?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if you want to go back to all the Yakabass event from the beginning, or if you want to just continue on from there.
No, I was just gonna go to this second one because you took second at a 91 at Clear Lake, and that was June 19th. So how did that one go?
That one went pretty well. I kind of wish I had a plan B. I went with one area and just stuck it out, grind it out, and I caught him like really good on a jig.
Really?
Ended up just fishing a stretch, maybe like 100-yard stretch back and forth, and it was next to a community hole. And first thing in the morning, there was already, I think, like 3 boats sitting on that spot, and I was in between those 3 boats, and just sitting there waiting for lines in. They were just catching it left to right, and finally at lines in, I started fishing for, I don't know, I think I spent like less than 30 minutes there because I was just in the wrong spot. They were pushing me all over. Ended up accidentally, well, it wasn't an accident, but them being on that spot, I kind of just started drifting off and fishing a different area. Kind of had a feeling they were going to be repositioned due to all that pressure, and sure enough, they had moved over to the one side of that area, and just kind of went to town with the jig. It was crazy. Just throwing a jig, and then eventually I switched it over to a chatterbait, just the all red chatterbait, and I ended up fishing it just like a jig. I was crawling it, dead sticking it every once in a while. I'll rip it, and so it's got the vibration and everything, and they were just smoking it.
That's awesome, dude. And then right after that, like July comes around, you take first again at McClure for Yakabass.
Yeah, oh man, that's one lake that I don't do well on at all. I've always just finished middle of the pack.
Not at all, Taz. You took first, okay? So not
And
at all, but up to this, I'm sure, right?
yeah, and so I think it was a tournament before that. I kind of screwed up because I didn't go to plan, and so that tournament I was like, I gotta have plan A, plan B, plan C, and just stick with it. And that tournament was another one that the wind played a big factor. Like I knew the wind was gonna pick up around noon, and I think lines out was at 1:30 or 2. And so I was like, I have to be on this spot around noon to capitalize on that quality bite, and everything kind of just worked out for me.
Wow. And then as we come up the list here, I'm just gonna go to the West Coast Championship in August at Clear Lake. You took eighth out of 108. So you just had like a killer end of the year last year. Do you have a rough idea, maybe for the listeners, just a rough number, rough idea for your 2021 season? Do you have a rough idea of how much like you cashed last year? I guess you can call it now.
Oh man, I'm thinking anywhere just a little bit north of 8 grand.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay,
A little.
sorry, dude. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. Did you say north of 10 or 20 grand?
No, I wish. Anywhere from I think like 8 to 9 grand.
Yeah. So can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what's going on, dude, but we're just gonna kind of power through it, hopefully. So kind of going into for 2022.
Can you repeat that again?
What are you planning on fishing for 2022, kayak
Uh,
wise?
for 2022, I think we can say it now. I got invited to fish the inaugural Wild West, the Kayak Pro Tour series.
Yep.
So that's one of them that I will be focusing on. I will continue to do the California Bass Nation, the boat stuff as a non-boater, and I'm thinking about doing the MLF Toyota series as a co-angler again, and hopefully squeeze in a few of the ABA, the Ironman stuff. It looks pretty good.
Sweet, man. Yeah, it's gonna be a full year next year, that's for sure.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about your co-angling. Let's talk a little bit about your co-angling on the boater side. So when did you start doing that?
I started back in 2000. I think it was 2018 too. I did one tournament, the Coastal FLW up at Clear Lake, and man, it was a eye opener for sure. I didn't have a life jacket. I didn't even know what to expect or what to bring. And so I'm not even going to say any names, but the pro I drew day one, he fishes out east too. And he kind of just flew back to fish that event. And he didn't have pretty much anything on his boat except for his stuff that he was going to use that day. And so I ended up having to like ask someone for their life jacket and stuff like that. And so that one, after fishing that one, I was just kind of like hooked. I was like, oh man, I gotta try to at least do a full season next year. And so I did the Coastal FLW in 2019. And then I think it was 2019. I think I finished like 11th Angler of the Year points. I ended up going to Kentucky Lake, and that was definitely an awesome experience. Just getting to fish a different body of water, being on a different Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and so ended up going out there, and I think I finished like middle of the pack. The next year after that, I fished. I think I got the years wrong, but I ended up fishing 3 years for the Coastal FLW, and then I did the California Bass Nation last year, and ended up finishing. No, it wasn't last year. It was 2019. Yeah, I got my year screwed up. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, so 2019, I ended up joining my brother to fish the California Bass Nation, and ended up qualifying as a non-boater for California after the regionals. And I went out to Lake Pickwick, and just long story short, I ended up in second place. Finishing second there.
At
And so,
Pickwick, what were you doing at Pickwick? What were you throwing?
at Pickwick, oh man, like you don't see it on TV, but there's so much current. It doesn't matter which part of the lake you're at. There's just current like ripping through there, and
So current breaks are key.
yeah, it is. And so day one, I think I only Ended up catching one spotted bass that weighed in about 3 something. And then day 2, I drew a guy and he kind of went up towards the dam, and we were fishing some like fast water, a lot of current. And we just happened to drift over this like little magical stretch, and I ended up throwing like a half-ounce jig head with like a 3.8 Kitech. And the way you drift down is the back end pretty much has first shot at everything. And so I kind of just kept throwing that Kitech. And right when we got to that spot, it was just like lights out. I ended up catching, I think, 3 from that spot. And then we shot across the river and started fishing like a little flat. And something just told me to throw a topwater. And I threw a topwater probably over like a foot of water, and ended up catching a pretty good largemouth. And
Wow.
finished off the day on that same spot again, because the guy was like, dude, you got a good limit. Like, where do you want to go? Like, he was nice enough to just ask me, where do I want to finish off the day? And so I was like, hey, let's go back to that spot in the morning. And sure enough, they were still there. And I ended up calling, I think, once or twice there, and my boater caught one there too.
Nice. So you took second place there?
Yeah, took second.
And how much did you win for that?
$7,500.
Wow, that's pretty sick. Yeah. I bet you that felt pretty good.
It did, you know. After day 1, I was kind of just like, because my family actually drove out there. You know, my mom, my brother, my sister, they drove out there.
Wow.
Me and my family, we flew there, and so I was kind of like, dang, like, you guys drove all the way here, and I only caught one fish.
Yeah.
And
then you end up taking second. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I ended up taking second. Mm-hmm.
And then this past year, didn't you? You could totally correct me if I'm wrong, but did you were you AOI this year?
This year, yeah, for the California Bass Nation.
Yeah.
I did pretty good this year, and ended up getting Angler of the Year for the California Bass Nation as a non-boater.
Wow. Was there any prize involved with that too, or what was their prize?
The AOI, no, it's just, I think you get a plaque. That's about it.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, the top 10 boater and non-boater, they qualify for the regional, which is coming up in February on Lake Havasu.
Wow. And then from there, where do you go if you win that, or if you do well there?
And so from there, if you are the highest finisher for boater and non-boater for your state, then you go to championship.
Wow. And then what do you win there? What's the ultimate prize?
For the boaters and non-boaters, a lot of people don't understand that the non-boaters, we actually get a shot to make it to the classic too. As long as your weight is as much as the top 10 boaters, they will give you a boat to fish day 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So the classic, you mean the championship for the Bass Nation?
Yeah. So through the Bass Nation, you can qualify to fish the Bassmaster Classic.
Really?
A good friend of mine, Matty Wong, he ended up winning that. Yeah. And so.
Oh, okay. But he was a boater, right?
He's a boater. Yeah.
So he was a boater. So there was a non-boater that qualified too?
Not from California, but I think there was one year where a non-boater actually ended up winning the championship. Yeah.
Okay, so the one that Matty won, he was a boater. Mm-hmm. Was there also a non-boater that won too, that goes to the classic, or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. So the non-boater can beat the boater. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So so the regular season it's 3 fish, but once you make it to the championship, then you as a non-boater you have your 5 fish limit, and if your 5 fish limit weighs more than
for 2 days.
Yeah, for 2 days.
Yep. And then the 3rd day they'll give you your own boat.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you fish against the top 10 in your own boat.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. Crazy. So what is cost-wise to fish the California Bass Nation on your side, a non-boater? What's the entry fee? What is your cost with that? Is it a lot, or is it manageable?
It's manageable. It's I believe it's $155 all in.
Per event?
It's pretty, yeah, per event. It's 2-day tournament.
And how many do they
And
have out here?
I think there's five events.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then okay, so you go from the top 10 out of those 5 events, right? They go to the regional in Havasu.
Yep.
And then the top 10 from the regional in Havasu go to the championship.
No, only one from the boater side and one from the non-boater for the state.
From the regional.
From the regional.
Oh,
and so if you're the
okay.
top finisher as a boater from California, you get to go. And if you're the top finisher for the non-boater, you get to go to the championship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, Matty just went through it, dude, and he made it all the way. Wow. That's insane. I need to have him on the show, probably. I need to have him on here to hear about it, because he seems like an awesome dude. I've just talked to him on Instagram and stuff. But for those of you that are listening, Matty Wong, if you guys look up on Bassmasters, to give you guys a little bit, he's just a local boater guy out here. And I guess he fished the nations, did really well, went to the regionals. I guess he won it. And then he went to the championship, and now he's fishing in the elites and qualified for the classic, right?
Yep.
That's insane. I know one day you see his Instagram as just like Matty Wong, and then the next day it's like Elite Bassmaster Pro and Classic Qualified and all this stuff, and it's just like, wow.
Just like that, man. It can happen.
Follow your dreams, man. It can happen. It can definitely happen. So next year you're fishing the Kayak Pro Tour, you're fishing maybe some of the ABA stuff, fishing the local stuff. Is there a national event that you have your eyes on? Are you trying to fish any kayak national events? Maybe one?
Probably not, unless, I usually plan my year depending on how well I do in the beginning of the year. Let's say if I get lucky and I win one event and I can kind of put that money aside for a national event, then yeah, I'll do it. But if not, I'm just going to stick with the local stuff.
For sure. So for 2021, what's your first event that you're going to? What's your season opener what's the season opener for Taz?
For next year, 2022.
2022, sorry, yeah. 2022.
It's gonna be the California Bass Nation.
It's the Havasu one?
Bonus.
No.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be in February. It's pretty tight, so it's gonna be literally that one, and then I think we go to Havasu right after that. I haven't even checked out any of the kayak events, see when they start. I think there's the one at Shasta.
Yeah.
The California Bass Nation. Yeah. I think that's like early in February too. So still kind of debating if I want to go up there. I've never been up to Shasta. So
throughout your years, I didn't look back on Tourney X, but did you ever go to the KBF National Championship, or did you ever go towards the east a little bit and fish one of those big events, or not yet?
No, I didn't go.
Yeah. All right. We need to get you out there, man. Especially if you're going to Pickwick and taking second. We got to get you out there.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the plan one day, to just go out there and kind of compete against those guys too, on their body of water, of course.
Yeah. Well, Taz, I think we're going to kind of try to wrap it up real quick, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anyone that you want to thank right now? Any supporters, sponsors, anything?
Yeah, just pretty much my wife, man. She supported me just throughout the year, holding it down at home, taking care of the kids while I'm away. And all my sponsors, P-Line Sims, Ballsy Bait, Wu Tungsten, Spare Point Hooks, Kitech, without those guys, it'd be pretty expensive,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Hey, from the quality of your jigs to the quality human being that you are, it's an honor to know you. Can't wait to fish against you next year. Hopefully you come down for maybe one ABA so we can be on the water a little bit more together. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. I hope you rip your thumbs up next year. And for those of you listening, this is pretty much going to wrap up our show. If you guys want to follow Taz, make sure you go check out his Instagram, TM Custom Lures. Just go ahead and support him. He does quality stuff. So Taz, thank you. For the listeners, as always, keep your thumbs ripped.
Thanks for having me, Shane.
Yep.